before we go, so we want to introduce our last speakers in their session on applied analytics from ward to board, focusing on national health services, the main healthcare system in England and the following countries as well in the UK. What this topic will cover is NHS's treatment and their solution to avoid that 4-hour breach, which basically is getting their patients in within a 4-hour window. And our speakers today are Roger Cressey and Alex Jennings of Cubics. They're both great leads. Roger from the global side, as he's really focused on the relationships with customers globally and growing Cubics in an EPM and BI perspective, while Alex is the lead from the Q Health. So this is directly related to him and his efforts with the NHS and their health team. So I'll hand it off to you guys and the audience, and the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Brendan. Nice to see you in good form. Terrible picture.
How come I haven't got a proper background?
Yeah. So, yeah, Alex, do you want to share so long?
Yep, I will share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was Groot on day one, so that's why I've got Guardians of the Galaxy background. So.
Okay.
All right, so we're off. I think Brendan did a fine enough introduction. Suffice to say, Alex is the really clever one, and I just yeah, it's nice to be presenting with you again, Alex.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Too long. Anyway, should we move on to the next slide? So this is about Cubics Q Health. These are some of the customers we work with, and I think probably one of the key things, there's a number of key words to remember, but the one is templated, which is what one of the objectives of this is to get people up and running extremely quickly with something that's already module based. And the other is learning. We are always learning. And so we really, as much as these folk are our customers that you see on here, they are people that we're constantly learning from. They are the experts, and we very much do see it as a partnership with, as we expose new needs and new requirements, we're able to leverage the stack, which is an entirely Oracle stack, to provide those needs. And in fact, that's been one of the benefits of this solution is having a comprehensive suite of tools, if you like, to be able to meet the needs of these various organizations. Next slide, sir. So there's really two components. One obviously is less interesting to this audience in that it's about financial planning, but just to know that we do have both an EPM templated solution and then an advanced analytics solution. And the advanced analytics is really what we're focusing on today, and it's been dubbed ward to board analytics. So being able to see granular data, analyze it, work out the efficacy of treatments and our wait times and things, and be able to present those in a simple, transparent way to the decision makers. Next slide, sir. So these are some of the issues that we've come across in hospitals and general analytics. They suffer from the vagaries of many large organizations, and especially many large quasi-government organizations. So a lot of because people need data and they need to be able to view things, but don't necessarily have the tools, they create stuff. And so you get tactical solutions which are built just for temporary purposes and then end up becoming the main solution. We've got legacy issues with good old spreadsheets and silos of data, which is it's not available to spread around or to collaborate with. Lots of out-of-date technology. You can read a lot of these yourselves. I think one of the biggest things is around adoption. And we find that a lot of the, certainly legacy products, were difficult to use. They took time, and as much as they may have had some basis in at least centralizing data, they still had big capability gaps. And because people couldn't use them, they still went back to using their spreadsheets anyway. And yeah, so I think that summarizes fairly well that slide. So why use a templated product? I mean, in a nutshell, because somebody else has gone through the pain and worked out how to get it all into one simple to use system. But it introduces cloud in most cases because we've actually developed these templated products in Oracle's latest cloud platforms. So we've got an immediate capability to scale. We don't have the problems with legacy databases and getting data in and out of them. We've got an ability to integrate them more easily. I think the ability to be able to flex for almost any requirement, if you have both, especially if you have both the EPM cloud products and the OAC Oracle database type product set, if you've got that armory in play, there's very little that you can't do. Obviously, the fact that it's all been pre-built, that the modules are already designed, and there's just a small amount of configuration for unique characteristics at various sites, it's very fast to implement. And it's all done on subscription basis and platform as a service basis. So you've got a different. It all hits your accounts in a different place on the P&L rather than on the balance sheet in most cases. And the fact that it's cloud means it's always being updated. It's always current, and so your users are getting a better experience. So next slide, sir.
Okay, do I take this one?
Yeah, so I'll hand over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Roger. Okay, so this is a slide that kind of encapsulates the Q Health Advanced Analytics solution. So as we highlighted a couple of slides ago, there's a lot of problems kind of that we find when we look at hospital analytics, and a lot of that is from the diversity of the hospital operations, but that diversity is our strength, really. They've got an awful lot of different source systems of various types and various kind of levels of quality, almost. But we want to use this solution to improve financial performance, improve operational performance, and improve clinical performance. They're the outcomes that we're looking for. So to do that, we've got to be able to incorporate financial, operational, and clinical data in it. Now I've got an external category as well, because what we also find is that hospitals have got often regulators and third-party kind of governmental or non-governmental organisations to work with, and they'll supply data backwards and forwards. So we'll want to be consuming those data as well. So to allow us to take kind of that mess, which is usually siloed in hospitals, and convert it into a coherent whole that we can get value from, we use CloudBridge, which is a Qubix technology, and we can also use Oracle Data Integrator. At the moment, Oracle Data Integrator on the marketplace is incredible value. So that's a great way of getting the data on, and we've pre-built the connectors to get data out of the various sources. So we can coalesce that data, and we coalesce it into autonomous data warehouse, which you probably know all about. A very clever piece of technology, and from a hospital's perspective, what it means is that they can concentrate on the analysis and getting value from the data, while the technology patches the product and optimizes it so we get better performance. And it does work. We're throwing pretty big and pretty mixed workloads at it, and we're finding we're getting very good performance from it. Normally, with these sort of projects, we'd be expecting to have a tuning phase in part of the testing, but now we don't have to worry about that, we find, and the performance is great. So ADW really is working very well for us for a coherent data warehouse. Of course, when the data's landed in that warehouse, then we've got it available to Oracle Analytics Cloud, which is our kind of third component. And once it's in there, we've got all manner of different ways of extracting value from the data, different insight and different visualization capability. Now, everything that I've talked to there, everything is built and runs on the Oracle PaaS Cloud. So it's all in one place, and all can be managed in one area. In terms of getting the data in front of eyeballs, we've got, of course, got the browser that we normally use with OEC, but we've got mobile as well. And I would say that mobile is underplayed in a healthcare setting. It's not as common as in other business sectors, but we've had some good success with it. For example, a care home operator that we work with, they're using it for their mobile workforce. So before they land at a care home, they've always got the up-to-date stats of what's going on there. So they're pre-armed with insight before they land at the door. And serendipitously, I haven't just changed the slide honest to incorporate Brendan's points on embedding content, but we've got a great amount of useful content in this solution, which we can then actually lift from the content and into other platforms, whether it be like an and-on board, a board in a hospital showing where busy areas are, or things like that, or whether it's into another application to provide insight for people to improve their decision making. So we're into the embedding of content as well. So as well as the platform capability, Cubix has built this layer of capability within the product, which we call kind of content areas. And we've listed some of the content areas you can see on those on the screen there. But if we pick a content area, what does it really mean? Well, firstly, we've got the data integrator, so we've got the ability to grab the source data from the various systems, and we've got the ability to structure that data into a coherent data model. So within our warehouse, we've got a zoned landscape of organized structure, which we can lay the data across. We've also built quite a number of KPIs and measures, and this is important because we can use, hospitals will have their own, we can use their own, but we've worked with hospital operators and organizations like AFA. Roger mentioned we're always learning, but some of the organizations we're working with in healthcare, like AFA, which is the Association of Professional Healthcare Analysts, they're just experts, domain experts at the use of data in healthcare. So we work with those guys, and they've helped us to incorporate measures and KPIs that gives a hospital operator a starting point for effectively managing their operations. And of course, we've built some content as well. We expect the content to evolve. Certainly in our pilot site, we built content with the pilot site, and that's content now available within the product, but they've continued to develop as well as you expect. But we've got a full stack of capability within the solution. Okay, so once the data is in the solution, we've got various ways of extracting value from reports, dashboards, and so on. And we're going to see a number of these in the demo. So I'll cut over now, if I can, to the demo system. So as I said, we're trying to improve financial outcomes, operational outcomes, and clinical outcomes. And we'll start with what we're trying to do. I'll show you how we're trying to structure those areas, how we're trying to improve all of those areas. And we'll start with finance. But so I've just told you that we're in the business of visualizing and coming up with new ways of getting insight from the data. So why am I showing you kind of boring kind of financial type reports? And the reason I am is because that's often where you start. We're using this platform to consolidate. It's ward to board. We want to consolidate onto this platform. And hospitals will always have a number of reporting solutions. It's really important that we can do and replicate everything that's already been created. So we can do this as standard dashboards and printed reports. However, we can also go a bit further than that. And once that's established and automated, we've got the ability then to be a bit more exploratory in how we look at finances. So we can layer in the different operational areas and different depths of data into the finance system and be a bit more kind of interactive with how we present data. So we can look at different ways of exploring the finance. If we can see the outliers here, maybe there's something that's gastro. With gastro, we can have a look at our number of procedures there going up. We can see that the cost is rising faster than revenue, and put the gastro area into a loss. And we can see what's happening there. We can establish what's happening within our finances. Let's look here. We're looking at the data by service reporting group. If I drill on to one, this is a different view of the data. This is by diagnostic reporting group. So this is a more in-depth, lower level way of structuring the data, but also a different view of the data as well. It's a different way of slicing the data. And again, we can look at what's happening. We see that quite a lot of our areas in this section are actually loss-making in our hospital. So when we're looking for restructuring our hospital and coping with tariff pricing, so on, this type of view is very useful to be able to structure our operations to make sure that we're operating financially in the right place. So again, if I click on a layer, and now we can get down to episode of care level. So we can go all the way down to very granular data with this solution. And often what we find is that the hospitals don't always have this amount of data available. Some of them don't have. In fact, our pilot hospital didn't have the episode of care layer originally. But what we can do is we've got the data structured, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't break the model if that data isn't available, but we can add it on later as it becomes available as the hospital develops. So for finance, we've got all ends covered, we think, to really understand finance and improve the financial performance of hospitals. And we can replicate what's normally done in finance reporting systems, so we can consolidate everybody onto this type of system. So we can extend that across to operations. So the operational area, as I said, we've got a whole bunch of KPIs which we've established, and we can start to represent those KPIs on dashboards and establish alerting and management by exception. So we've got ability with the system to have alerts and so on, so everybody gets to know when, for example, this attendances area isn't working right. They'll be sent that data by means of an alert. Everything's interactive, and again, we can drill into the data, and so an operational area can be kept pretty much fully in control with this sort of tech. However, we've got a bit beyond that now and moved away a bit from dashboards and worked with some organisations to really understand and get under the covers of how we can improve performance within hospitals. So this is one aspect of that which we've developed. And if I just drill into this area, we work with the NHS Improvements, and it's partly adopting their standard, and it's a statistical process control. And as we can see there, we've got a statistical process control chart, and we're color coding the points to show people what's going on. But the point of statistical process control is that it is advanced from standard dashboarding, because it's telling people exactly when to make an intervention here in this case, and if that intervention has been beneficial to the process. So it actually is a much cleaner way, a neater way of driving operational improvements than just relying on a red tile in a dashboard. Now, statistical process control has its detractors, and the reason for that is usually because it can be a bit difficult for non-experts to understand. And we've helped people out here. We've got representations on the chart for what's going on, and because we've color-coded the points, so non-experts can adopt the technology quite easily. And also we've automated the number crunching, which is usually the kind of labor-intensive part. So we've removed the kind of pain from adding statistical process control to a hospital to mean that people get the benefits without the kind of the normal detractions. So I change my data on that slightly. And we can see that once you adopt statistical process control over a wide area, that gives you quite a lot to monitor. So we'll use the same approach as we have done for the dashboards. And we've built here performance tiles, so people can see at a glance what's going on with their processes and allow them to take interventions if they need to, but not to if they don't. And again, we can set up alerting on all of these. So our discharge failure there that we see was failure it's under the control lines. We can alert people to that as it happens. So again, operationally, we think we've got a very good way of driving operation improvements for a hospital provider. Now, another way of improving kind of clinical and operational performance is being able to get people using data and getting insight without having to push it at them, so they can get the insight when they need it. And we found that the tool works very well for that sort of caper. If you have it on a mobile, or if you have it available to you, you can just ask it questions. So we can go for number of attendances, for a number of attendances left, and we can go for FY. Let's go for FY. Let's go for that one. We know exactly how many people left our hospital without being treated in that financial year. So we can quickly ask it questions and get answers there. So it's like having a knowledge base as well as an analytics system. And this system is brilliant for driving adoption of analytics through the hospital. So we've got the data visualizer capability here, and we've structured the data. I've added some data for my MIU attendance. MIU is accident and emergency. So we're looking at accident and emergency here. But if all of our data is organized for us nicely, so it's very easy for somebody in a hospital working to be able to understand where the data is that they want, selected and add it to their visualization. We've got our data, so if we just start working, I'll have a look at our attendances. I can just drag that over. We'll look at, we'll also add a date. And we can see there it's done an auto visualization, so the system is trying to help us understand the data. We haven't got much data there yet, so I'll add date on. So now we can look at our attendances to the accident and emergency department over the course of a year. I've got a filter on for year, so we're just looking at 1 year's data here. I'm looking at a number of hospitals here. We're looking at all hospitals, but I can actually add all my different hospitals on. You see my hospitals come on. It's messed my visualization up a bit there. So I'll change that. And there's lots of visualizations available. We can look at a percentage chart. And I'll look at I'll go for a kind of a stacked bar chart so I can see the overall absolute figures. And we've got, we can see our individual hospitals' contribution to the overall there over the course of a year. I'm just going to copy that, just copy, paste, copy my visualization. I'm going to just change this one. I'll take the date off. Squash it up a bit. We'll change this one to a table. And I can drive the visualization. So I'm going to use this one as a filter now. And I can actually use this visualization to drive. So all of our data is joined up. The system knows how it works. And we can immediately start to explore the data. And without having to do any joins or anything, it's already joining itself up. And so we can use this system immediately to start answering questions. So if I look at my failure rate, so we've got a KPI, number of 4-hour breaches. That's who hasn't been treated within the government mandated time there. And we can see our hospitals here, say Cirencester Hospital and Stroud Hospital, have some similar number of attendances, but there's far more breaches of our KPI at Cirencester. So we can have a look at that. We can use some statistics to have a look at that. We can add let's add a trend line on, and it's definitely not linear. Polynomial. Okay, that's better. So it's got the sinusoidal curve represented there. We can have a look at the two things between it. I'm also going to I'll also add a reference line there. Median's fine, yeah. So we can have a look at our control hospital Stroud there, which is performing well, and we can compare that with Cirencester. So we can see that our Cirencester Hospital has a much bigger deviation from the mean over the course of the year, much bigger swings, which might be driving the number of failures. It's probably more difficult to staff such a hospital with swings of demand, in which might be leading to our breaches. So quickly we can actually start to investigate things. And I've not done anything difficult there. Nobody would struggle to do what I've done. It's just dragging and dropping and exploring the data. And yet we can get to a point where we've got a hypothesis we can investigate. I'll just duplicate that data there, and then I'll add some commentary. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So now what we can do, we can get the system to mark up its own chart, so it can actually start to tell us about the data as well. If I change to a totally different hospital there, I'll go for Vale. We can see that our data's changed, and it's changed the narrative that it's telling us about the chart. So not only can we start to do point and click analytics and start to learn things about why the hospital is performing as it is, but we can actually get it to tell us a little bit of about the data. And it's highlighted there that I've got a potential problem in my data, which I might want to investigate. So the system itself is very easy to use, and we're finding adoption is working very, very well at the hospitals that we're working with. And because the data is all organized in our solution, and because it's so easy to build this sort of content, what we can do is adopt what we call project analytics. So we create analytics that's purely about one area of hospital operations. So this is one we created with Gloucester. This is about the MIU department, the Accident and Emergency Department, and the breaches. They were very worried about the number of people who weren't getting treated in the government mandated timescale. And so they did the analysis of this. They can have a look. We're looking at our worst performance here, Cirencester. If we click on there, we can see how that's its component of the overall failures, and the other data is organized thus. So we can see per site. We can have a look at. We've also got per time of day and so on, and I can use this. All of the data is there. We've built this content, but you can also drill in. So you saw that was the worst performing. Region. But we can actually drill further into that. We can have a look at. Let's have a look at diagnosis groups. Go by diagnosis. So we can start to then look at kind of what areas of the hospital are performing worse. So we've got all the layers of data needed to do this sort of investigation. And we can come up with quite a lot of information about why we are getting the problems that we're getting, to actually improve these, drive improvements in these targeted areas. Okay, so yeah, so I'll just as well as that, see if we've got, yes. So we also use the narrate function. So we've learned something about why our hospital is performing badly in our breaches. What we can do then is use the narrate function to curate that content. So we've got a lot of content here that we we looked at, but we're going to use the narrate function to then curate the content. And because there's no limit to there's no user-based pricing with any of this solution, so everybody in the hospital can benefit, we can actually then send it to somebody who could be a user, or we can export it to I don't know, a presentation or a report or so on for actions to be taken or further investigations to be done. So the tool is really helping us to drive those operational improvements. And if I just cut back to my slides, we can have a look at some of these areas here. So if we look at the top right, Gloucester reduced their peak monthly breaches by 50% since the go live of this tooling. And I can say for sure that is well against trend of what's happening in the NHS in the UK, where wait times for accident and emergency departments are actually still on the up. So it has demonstrable achievements from the ability to get to grips with a solution. One of the challenges we get sometimes in terms of why a templated solution is, well, it's a packaged product almost. What if we want to change it? Well, it's not a packaged product, it's a template. So we put it in, and then from that point, it's a hospital. You own it, and you can change it. And Gloucester have been able to really grow the number of sources. We went live with 18 data sources, and 9 months on from that, they're up to 32. So they've been able to independently use the template to incorporate more data into it. And we're getting good feedback. And the platform capability, which again, serendipitously, it matches Brendan's points on the NHS BSA, which is what you saw. Cubics has worked with NHS BSA to improve their system as well. But that technology has saved 1.2 billion for the NHS, provable savings. So the technology really does work as a means to consolidate on. So I'll just talk briefly about kind of futures as well. So we've got there a very capable analytics solution, an insight solution, but it's also future-proof. The autonomous data warehouse as a very clever data science layer. Cubics have actually partnered with a data science company to get them to do some data science based on our data sets to see what they could do. And then we had a look at whether we could replicate that in the ADW technology, and we found we could. So the ADW data science layer is as capable as a kind of as the platforms that boutique data science houses are using. And we've been able to do some quite good modeling on predictions using that tool. However, really what we've got with this product is an accelerated twin track. So we'll be automating a lot of the data collection and report creation and insight creation at a hospital. So what do your insight teams do? Well, we'll be using the product to skill those up to get more advanced and more value from the data. And we can actually use the tool itself to help us achieve that. So you might not have a data science team at a hospital, not all of them do, or certainly not all of them in the reporting on the MI and the finance areas. But we can use the machine learning capability in the analytics cloud to start to skill people up on the procedures and the processes involved with data science very quickly, just in the same way that I was doing the drag and drop analytics. So we can actually create. This is something we've created within just the data visualizer, and we can actually create projects and use those projects to train people on how to do these sort of things. So as well as being very easy to use, the system can be used as a training tool to upskill your existing staff, and that's what we're now working on with the pilot hospitals. So quite quickly, the tool has got a whole load of future-proof capability, and quite quickly we can get to the point where people are able to access that capability and skill themselves up. So it's working very well in terms of how productive you can make the teams. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the results that we're seeing. So we've got a pilot site, Gloucester, that we're working with, and we've worked with them for longer than the other hospitals. We have we went live with 400 users, and they're now up to 900 users, and I think they were beyond 900 users because my data is a little bit out of date. So we've got no problems in terms of getting adoption in the hospital, and that was a real challenge that they've had prior to this, where if people felt tools were clunky, they felt things weren't working for them. Self-service was really not even. It was something that was talked about, but it was never something that was delivered. But now we've got lots of independent teams working to analyze and appraise their own data. The user groups, we've pretty much got all of the areas on now. Like I said, we're trying to improve financial, operation, and clinical outcomes, and we've got all of those teams now working on the platform. And they're also now looking to do collaborations with third parties as well. So they're going to start to use the platform to collaborate with third parties on their data, and also use it as a bit of a hub to send data backwards and forwards to various other bodies. 32 data sources, actually more than that now. I don't know what the latest is, but they're adding them all the time. So we're getting a lot of data incorporated into the solution. And data security, I'll just go forward a couple of slides. Needless to say, it's in a hospital area, patient data, which this system, I can't show you the patient data in the demo, but patient data is incorporated into the solution. That's the highest level of data within the NHS in terms of security. So what we've built is a pretty advanced security model, which works for the whole of the hospital. So we've got subject area security, so the MIU team can be segregated in terms of data from the finance team. As well as that, we've got ownership of the data built into it. So we've got the ability for Cost Center 1 in the finance team not to see Cost Center 2's data and stuff like that. So we've got data ownership. We've also got data tiers incorporated into the solution. So some users can see just the aggregate data. Some users can see the patient level data, but not with the patient details. So it's a pseudonymized key. And some people can see the full patient record. So we've got the ability to work and supply data and insight to the whole of the hospital, but in a very auditable and very controlled way, which is amongst the most kind of important criteria really for working with hospital operators. And we've had our security model audited by Ernst & Young, and so it's passed with no changes required. So we're able to be very confident that our security is as required. So we've got our automation. All of our data moves and user tracking reports delivery is automated, so we can automate alerts to people, so people are very clear on their area of operation. And we've got capability that just hadn't been possible before. By combining the financial, clinical, and operational data, we can ask questions like, or answer questions like, what impact did this staffing change have on outcomes? And what was the financial impact of this change? So we've got the ability to see things from different views, and as I say, we're completely future-proof. So we're happy with the results. We're trying to develop more. We want to work with more hospital operators because we think the more that we work with, the better the solution will be, and the better the solution gets, we'll offer it back to the ones we continue to work with. But so the takeaways really in terms of what we've been able to do by combining the data, we can have true waterboard analytics. So we can improve financial, operational, and clinical outcomes. And by using a platform templated approach, we can allow consolidation of reporting technology onto this this platform, and also by using the templated approach, we can achieve this in good timescales. Weeks and months. We can roll out, and at a cost efficient price, and with a low risk. These sort of big scale data projects are pretty risky endeavors for hospital operators to kind of embark on, but we're pretty confident we can deliver this and be confident in the outcomes, which I think is a bit of a rarity. So I think that's our three takeaways for what we've learned from our approach. Okay, so I think if my clock's right, we've got a couple of minutes for questions, if there are any.
So Barry Starkey, hi Barry, just nice to see you on. He says, really good presentation, Alex, nicely done.
Thanks.
So, but that was, there's no other questions as such.
No other questions.
I'm surprised Brendan hasn't got something to say. All right. So there's an open question from Jukka Vartainen. Been working with on-premise OBIE since Oracle acquired it. The base, the involvement, but this was awesome. There we are. Yeah,
well, we're big fans of OAC. Honestly, I think the model really works. The lack of user-based pricing and the ability to scale. The scaling works really, really well. I mean, I've got a big data set here, and I'm on one CPU, and you can see it's not slow. But then you've got the any scalability you want, and you can dynamically do that. We can change it with CloudBridge, and you've got the dynamic auto scale functionality as well, which the systems do get hammered at month end. So that sort of capability is great. So we are big fans of the OAC. We've been in it since the beginning, and we even in its early kind of releases, we were getting value from it. But I think the functionality is really bedded down, and it's really advanced. So we're trying to keep on top of it because the development roadmap's pretty tight, but there's a lot there. And it's probably the only platform that Cubix has used in terms of analytics that you could genuinely say is it's a single platform that can cope with all insight requirements.
I think next what we need to do is we need to have a picture of a body with those heat maps, over, here's the liver treatment. Here's
yes, I'll see what I can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, I have a question for you. This is Dan. I noticed that the one dashboard that was kind of curated in this was done using the Answers technology, and the data was from a couple of years ago. And then the more exploratory stuff was in data visualization. What are you guys looking to do to change to that technology? Do you look at blending them? How are you making that change in your application?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, great question. Let me flick back and see if this is not timed out. But if I let me return to here. We do use both in the solution. We still use both, and the reason being is that they do have strengths and weaknesses, and I think the solution will evolve. So I think if I give you an answer now, I think the answer might change in a year. What we've found is we've evolved gradually more onto DV, but the Answers type created functionality here does give you quite a lot of ability to have a tight frame of content and allow people to kind of select within it. So if you want to curate what people are selecting, this can give you quite tight control of that, which can be quite helpful. And if I show you these sort of these are graphics which flick based on variable driven code. So for things like this, it's very, very difficult really to do it within DV cleanly. So Answers is a good solution for that. But what we're trying to do, and I didn't show you this, but what we're trying to do is kind of draw people in to data visualization. So if I look at my chart here, which we can look at financial outliers across the hospital. But if I explore as a project, and I don't know if this is going to work, I tested it, but this will link us then to the same visualization into the data visualizer. So then people can start to to explore their own data if the visualization isn't quite what they want. So we're using that sort of bridging process as well, which we think works quite well. So I don't think we're going to abandon answers just yet, because it does give us this flexibility to do fancy things like those statistical process control charts. But yeah, we're big fans of DV, and for exploratory type work, it's definitely the way forward.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
Well, appreciate you guys going through this. I can share a few closing slides, thoughts. Brendan, Adel, you guys have anything else? Otherwise, I can share my screen and go through this.
Yes, go ahead.
Good,
sure.
good to go.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Roger.
That was great, Roger and Alex.
Great presentation.
Great presentation.
Thanks. I'm going to hang around, but I'm going to stop my video.
Okay.
Okay.